kid.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of season 4 of a show that happens every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about stuff and the points don't matter. Just put paint on it! Hooray! Yeah! This is the Every Friday show where I am joined by my wonderful co-host and partner in crime, Tanya Gates, the War Mistress herself, and we bring on amazing guests that overshadow both of us in all aspects of life, and we showcase them to all of you so you can get to know them a little bit, and we get to sit down, paint, and chat, and hang out, and you can put us on in the background. The shows this season are going to be 60 minutes long, they're going to be short, they're going to be sweet, so you can digest them, and they're going to be in a cool playlist, which you should not miss. It'll be playlist Just Put Paint on It Season 4. And shout out to Just Put Paint on It Season 3, which is also a playlist. So if you want to watch all the guests we had last season,
you just shouted out a playlist.
I did. Because it was, we had some really cool guests. We had some really good guests, okay? Just saying. Okay, so introducing our wonderful guest for today, Space Marine Steve, who has risen to renown through murdering all of his foes using the Ultramarines in blue at Play on Tabletop.
But also the Astral Claws in silver.
Sure. I like the Ultramarines better.
In yellow.
No. Only Ultramarines. Only Ultramarines.
Now that's TAC is
TAC.
Only Ultramarines.
TAC is all Ultramarines all the time. I do play Ultramarines. I do play Ultramarines, and I do love Ultramarines, but I also play all the other chapters too. I literally play them all. So
do you play Black Templars?
Yep. I have a Black Templars army.
I love you already. Will you marry me?
No, I actually just got married.
Oh man, I'm married too.
So
how is this ever gonna work?
It's never gonna work. Not between us. It won't.
Oh, sad.
Apologize.
It will be
Plus,
in my heart.
I also am pretty positive. Aren't you married too?
Yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah.
Oh,
so it's not gonna work. Sorry.
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry. You don't get the joy of being my partner.
We've missed this chance.
We have.
Me by 2 months and you by like 15 years.
Hello, chat, as well. Thanks for coming in. A huge shout out to everybody who's going to be hanging out with us. Thank you so much for coming down. For 4 seasons we've been doing this show, or this will be the 4th, all the way since the beginning of the pandemic, where we used to do this every single day. And we had 150 episodes in a row or something ridiculous like that. And now it's become a staple where there's a hashtag you can follow. Just put paint on it. Okay, so Space Marine Steve, this is about you. What are you working on today? And tell us a little about who you are, where you're from, and just a little about you. Who are you?
Sure. So my name is Space Marine Steve, and I am one of the founding members of Play on Tabletop. We make really high quality battle reports, and we like to tell kind of narrative tabletop stories in a really cinematic way. We love telling our video stories with our toy soldiers, and so if you've never checked us out before, go to Play on Tabletop at YouTube. Check out some of our battle reports and narrative campaigns and all the other content that we have on that. And I am our, I guess, resident Space Marine player.
What? No.
What? If the name doesn't give it away.
Do you live in the studio?
My obscene collection of Space Marines totally will. So I play all the Space Marines, literally every chapter, and yeah, that's me in a gaming nutshell. I started playing 40K when I was quite a bit younger, and just fell in love with Space Marines, and just never really turned back. So now that I play them on the internet, I can't turn back.
I know. It's like everybody holds you accountable to your own, like, branding.
I
know. Every time I play something that's not Drukhari, everybody's like, Skari, where's your Dark Eldar? And I'm like, I want my Black Templars to shine.
Yep.
Well, the Holy Bolter and Chainsword, of course. You know, that's all you really need. More chainswords and more bolters. And you should be fine. So...
Land Raider coming at you. Just chain swords.
Chain swords. That's
Green
yeah.
swords.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
More chain swords.
Just ask Karn how that went for him.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome. Like Play on Tabletop, I had the pleasure of going down to Play on Tabletop and playing in. I think was it a year ago season finale? Was that the season finale? There was I played with JT, and I played against.
Those are it was our apocalypse game, right?
Yeah, it was like the big apocalypse. It was like Eldar versus Orcs. It was really fun. I had a lot of fun. Tanya, you were there too. It was great. And I can't wait to go back. If I get invited again, I would love to again at some point.
Well,
it was so fun.
I'm sure that we can work something out the next time you're on this side of the country.
I'll go just to be on the show. Like I will literally fly out
on the channel.
Yes, and I will have like a little trip where I'll visit people in and around BC and maybe go to an event out there and like without it getting canceled this time. And then put back on.
Events are firing back up, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Except Attack X.
Well, we all have to just live with that.
Wait, so is that just not happening anymore?
Yeah, no, they've called it quits.
Oh, that's a shame. I do want to shout out chat. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us. Xanthiades, Dr. Vancouver, who's a first-time viewer. Nice. Dr. Rhino, Paul Greer, Mark of Corn, Xanthiades, like all of you. Tim, hello. Thanks for coming to hang out. So, what are you working on today, Steve?
So today I am working on some Crimson Fists.
Oh,
They're
nice.
the Imperial Fist successor chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've chosen them right now as just the competitive army that I'm playing, and so I'm rocking some Crimson Fists, and so I'm just continuously trying to edge up some of the highlights and stuff. I got the model like a battle ready so that I could go and play at events and make sure I get my 10 points.
Yeah.
So now I've been slowly taking what time I have to just kind of up their quality very slowly.
That's fantastic.
But you know what? I must say, so I ordered some of these like Artist Opus dry brushes, these little dry brushes that they make. And they're very similar to like I used to use like some like makeup brushes and stuff like that. And the brushes don't so much matter. What matters though is that I've been really upping my dry brush game. And it's actually starting to like I'm actually starting to get like not wildly good at it, but much better at it than I was before.
Yeah.
And it actually is it's a style of painting that I never really put too much like emphasis on.
Yeah. I'm not good at it. You're gonna have to teach me how to do it next time I get down there to see you, because I'm so bad at it.
It's crazy how much little bit of like just like sometimes it's all about how much paint you put on, or how you hold a brush, or it can be like very, very simple things that increase like your paint stuff, like your paint style. And it's funny because dry brushing is one of those, I think it's definitely a style, and like you said, it's like I don't want to say it's looked down. You know how airbrushing used to be considered like cheating back in the day? I don't know if any of you remember that. Like back in the day, if you airbrushed your models, it was like considered like cheating. Like it was, the gatekeeping back then was, oh, you airbrush your models? They looked great, but everybody's like, that's not painting. You know what I mean? Like that was like the but dry brushing,
it was somehow easy, right?
Yeah, it was like too easy, so like people just gave you shit for it.
Is it though? Is it?
I know
like
you have
how much
your horror
trial
stories.
and error that you have to do to get the paint right and to get like the settings right and to like learn what you're doing. It's not cheating, because I think like anybody can pick up a brush and put paint on a model. It maybe takes a little bit more time to get to like a really good level that way. But I feel like the beginning step is really short. You just grab a brush and you just throw some paint on it. But it's like the opposite with airbrushing. It takes a really long time to learn how to do it efficiently. And then once you've got like the actual basics down, then it really doesn't take that long to become like adept at it. It's like the opposite.
Makes
so
sense.
People who say that it's cheating, just use your brains a little bit.
Well, that was more, I think in the past. Does that still happen?
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think
Every so often, every so often I will hear the phrase like, "Oh, that's just like airbrush trickery" or something like that. Like every so often I'll hear someone just say, "Oh, well, I mean, like that was accomplished with this airbrush," and like. However, I must say there is there's definitely like now a 'cause I've started airbrushing now. I used to not at all. I used to just like I subscribed to the like cheaters airbrush, which truly was just rattle can whatever color was the base color, because I was Marines and I was allowed to do that. You just rattle can whatever color it was, and then fill in all whatever it is, and then you just like wash, edge highlight. Oh, it's cool. It's done. But like there's like a difference between like, oh, that's very clearly airbrushed, and wow, all your blends are really smooth and I can't tell what is and isn't airbrushed. Like
Right.
there's definitely a divide in like you just slapped as much airbrushing into this as possible and you have some really harsh blends, right? Like, you know, you just did this to 15 whatever night spinner things that there was, whatever just came out, and you have 15 of them. Like, right? Like, what was that? What was that Harlequin?
It definitely does have a look. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a look, right? Like, there,
Yeah.
what was that joke when Harlequins were like inexplicably good for a while? It was like, what was that really broken model that they had?
The Void.
It was like way undercosted. and very strong.
The Void Weaver.
Yes, there was a meme, that like Mr. Bond meme that was like, Mr. Bond, I see you too have 15 freshly airbrushed, Void whatever they are. Like I also have 15 freshly airbrushed, right? Like that like freshly airbrushed look has like a look, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and
It-
it also
it also looks kind of like minimal effort, just minimal effort with an airbrush compared to minimal effort with an actual brush.
It's also really funny because that meme came from a tournament where like both players at the top stream table had the same color like Void Weavers and Harlequin boats, and it just looked like this giant like mash of the same color on the table. It was absolutely hilarious. Going back to chat, hello Orcish Mama, how's it going? Congratulations on your account with Geargus Mech Shop. Yay!
Yay!
That's awesome. Sindri, hello Sindri, what's going on? Azzy, gotta watch this new Cronin video by Voldemort. Nice. Northern Knights Gaming, a local gaming group. Make sure you check them out on YouTube. Hi, Northern Knights Gaming. What's going on? Mubin says, "Damn it, Steven. Go Chaos Lord Steve." Tycho, hey, Tycho, how's it going? Ben Warderberg says, "The wonderful Chaos Space Marine Lord."
Yeah, I love everybody
literally the
come
entire
in to just troll you.
Even money, they're all sitting in the office right now. Get back to work, all of you.
No, they're all in
Except
there with
Tycho's
popcorn.
on
Like,
the
how
phone.
can we make this as difficult and uncomfortable as possible?
That
for
is
Steve?
sounds
Exactly
like a
what that-
plan.
no.
You can all help us.
That is what they're doing, but I also love them all, so I'm just gonna let them do it.
Okay, there you go. That's the spirit. That is definitely the spirit.
And they also know that I would do the same thing to them.
Nice. So it's a mutually assured destruction sort of situation. That's fantastic.
There is, like
Hi Inquisitor says,
we
Steve!
we gently rib one another, but we love one another as well.
I love it. That's that. You know, you've truly made it when you can rib each other, and it's like completely fine, and there's nothing to it. It's just kind of like part of it. It's like endearing almost. You know what I mean? I do enjoy that a lot. Now, oh, hello Prankster. What's going on? First YouTube member. Thanks, Prankster. Really appreciate the support on YouTube, which is awesome. Thank you so much. What a lad. Nicholas says, "For the greater good."
Damn it, Nick.
And then Ben says, "By the way, Steve, I opened the package."
Yeah. Oh, what's in the package?
I don't know what's in the package.
What's in it?
I don't know. We're gonna
What's
have
in
to
the
find out.
package?
What's in the box?
What's in that package?
What is?
There was
what
some
is in it?
package that showed up for me at PlayOn, just some like miscellaneous package that just showed up. just for me, and I want to know what it is now. Really want to know.
Well, he did open it, so
He did open it.
he'll
but
know what's
what
inside.
is
Maybe he'll
it?
torture you with the not letting you know what the contents is until later. You
Yeah,
know?
he totally will.
Yeah. That that I approve. I approve. The Dark Eldar Archon in me approves of torturing you.
So I had never really gotten to hang out with Tack because Tack is really busy dude, but I got to hang out with him a lot last time I went to play on, and by the end of the weekend, I feel like he was just a straight savage to me, and I was like, ah, yeah, we're friends now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
That makes sense.
you know you've made it when. Oh, by the way, Tanya.
Yeah.
What are you working on today?
I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but Geiger Fellhand. He's a 30k Space Wolf character, and yeah, painting his face. So I'm like kind of like going cross-eyed
Is he the one that
because
turns
he's
into Bjorn?
tiny. No, but the fan theory is that Bjorn takes his artificer claw at some point.
The Fell Hand. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of interesting, actually, as like a from a lore perspective.
Yeah.
So you're
I
playing.
don't know if it's actually like confirmed, but like their claws look very similar. So
Yeah.
and they're artificer
Mm.
claws, so there's not supposed to be more than one.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Also, you've been you're painting Space Marines. Steve's painting Space Marines. I'm painting Space Marines. This is my little. I'm
Yeah.
painting some awesome Black Templar infiltrators that I've been working on, and John the Cron and I have been filming this really cool little narrative crusade campaign based off of the Vigilus Alone campaign book. We're just playing it basically right out of the book. And
Neat.
we've I know it's been super fun. We just filmed episode 4 out of 12. So it's 12 episodes in this series. And we filmed episode 4 last night. And these little dudes were freaking awesome. So I need to put some highlights on them. And I also have to put some more purity seals on them because they gained a purity seal battle honor, which makes them deny the witch. And John the Cron is playing Filthy Zinch. So I need as much anti-psyker as
filthy.
humanly possible.
Apparently there was
That's
vegan ramen in the package.
Vegan noodles? Okay. Noodles, vegan ramen. Yep. That makes sense.
What? Okay. It was addressed to me?
I don't. I just
don't
see
think it's
all the
actually
team
real.
is
I think
saying
everybody's-
vegan noodles, so I don't know.
It's weird. That's really wild.
Dr.
I mean, okay, sure.
Maybe it's
Dr.
a
Bang-
fan from like, just being like, hey, you should taste these because they're all really weird flavors or something. Being like, these vegan ramen
Question
noodles.
though, aren't like besides any egg noodles, aren't most noodles vegan? Oh, I guess
The
most
package
noodles
or
have
whatever?
eggs in them. But like vermicelli, I'm pretty sure are like
Well, but
vegan.
depending on the flour that you use though, like flour is often bleached with like a bone marrow and stuff like that. So like you can't you have to actually have like
It has to say vegan on the package.
gotta be vegan full on.
Okay.
So this is a
Dr.
question.
Vancouver
I think
says,
that's true. Don't quote me on that, but I remember reading that somewhere. I think.
Are
there's
you
a lot of
vegan,
flours
Steve?
that have an animal byproduct. I'm not a vegan.
Oh, okay. I was
I had
like,
bacon this
maybe that
morning.
has to do. Oh, okay.
I also had bacon this morning. My dog also had bacon this morning.
You know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so stop. I've been trying to get to this Dr. Vancouver question for like 5 minutes. You all
Okay.
just shut up.
Here. Let me
Okay.
grab my coffee.
Shush! What are your hopes for Ogre Mod Tribe's battle tome that was announced? I hope that it is internally balanced so that I can play more of my units, i.e., I want to play my Gutbusters, my Walking Ogres. That's what I want.
Not.
I don't
just
want it
your
to be OP.
Stonehorn.
Right. I don't want it to be OP. I don't want it to be like the same crappiness that it is now, but yes, that is my hope. Internal balance. Okay, now you guys can talk
Isn't
over
that
me again.
everyone's? We just got
Yeah, I
told.
feel like I feel like what we all really want is some kind of internal balance.
Yeah.
That's what Zen is
Oh,
for.
I want to know. I would love to know. So, Skari, you're a longtime tournament player, right?
Yes.
And so yesterday, Games Workshop put out
Oh, here we go.
the Games Workshop
Yeah, it's great.
like PR video.
Mm-hmm. So funny.
What are your thoughts? Because that's the first time they've ever done something like that. So clearly, like, what are your thoughts around the whole deal?
So, well, first and foremost, I reviewed the Votan book, right? I've reviewed pretty much every book that has come out. I'll tell you right now that I don't give a crap about what rules are in books. I don't care. I will play with what I love the game. I'll play whatever is out there. Sure, I'm going to play the game regardless. Good, bad, ugly.
He's a fanboy.
I totally am a shill. Although Games Workshop doesn't give me any money, they send me models, and I don't care if they're good or bad because I love just everything about 40k. Now, is it annoying to go to a table and play 7 Iron Hands Flyers? Yes, it is very annoying. Is it annoying to go to a table and play busted Harlequins and know that, you're probably not long for this table? Yes, absolutely. However, I love the game and I'm going to keep on playing it. So, having said that bias, first of all, I hadn't played against Votan. Secondly, from my perspective as a Drukhari player, I didn't give a flying fidoo how heavy they could hit you or how good they were, because you can shoot my 5 Kabalite warriors with bolt pistols and they'll die just as quickly as if you shoot them with a magnet rail or a bunch of beam weapons. Like, it doesn't matter how big and strong the gun is. Like, they're Kabalite warriors. They're just gonna die. So it wasn't as much of an issue. However, I do like that they addressed it quickly, and I think it's mainly, and I love the fact that they did it in a humorous way, where they're like, hey, we got your emails. Look, we playtested this book when we were playtesting Eldar and Tyranids, and you know how busted those 2 books were, right? So, like, it was designed against those books in a pre-nerfed world. You just imagine if they took all the nerfs away, I'm pretty sure the game would be relatively balanced again, right? With all the crazy stuff they've been putting out. So they did it with a humorous way, and it wasn't just James Workshop, but like Adam Troke and like the Warhammer TV team. They were like, hey, we want to make sure that if you buy a bunch of models, that you're not buying more than you're going to have to need because of the fact that all the points are going to change because they are busted. So here's the new point values, so that if you buy like a land fortress or this or whatever, like now like how many points they're going to be, instead of like buying a bunch of sit, making a 2,000 point army, then finding it's like almost 3,000 points and being like, shit, I didn't have to buy like a third of these models or whatever, right? I think that from that perspective, it means that it's good for the consumer, but it's good for them as a company. At the same time, it sucks that they don't have a better, more robust playtesting system or team where they can catch that shit before. Because all you have to do is, or have some sort of way where they can lower the lag between when they finish writing a book and when it gets released. Because if they finish writing a book, it gets printed and then released, and the lag is, I don't know, 4-6 months or whatever.
I just feel like I just feel like in that article they gave like plenty of information that like me as a pleb, I can see ways that they could fix it. One, don't just play test it into the group of books that you have coming out, right?
Yeah.
Play test it into everything. Play test it into like books that are doing absolutely terribly right now. Play test it into books that are doing like amazingly well. Like, you have to see what it's like in the entirety of the game, not just Eldari and Tyranids. But then the other thing too is like, just because you develop the books all at once wouldn't necessarily, and then balance them together all at once, doesn't mean you have to release them all at once.
Yeah. Yeah, it also makes sense. But at the same time, like, it is a slippery slope, because the last thing I want is for everybody to just expect them to do that every time, right? So at the same time as I appreciate that they're like trying to make us happy as consumers, and they're like, hey, we're listening to your feedback and shit like that. What happens when they can't do that? Right? Like if they have a book or whatever and then they can't get to it right away or something like that, like, what's the blowback going to be? Being like, well, you did it for Votan, why can't you do it for this book too, and then this book? So it's like you give them a hand and they pull your leg or whatever that saying is, right?
Is that a saying?
Is it? It's a similar saying. I think
I
there's a saying
I've never
along
heard
those
that
lines.
saying before, but
Yeah,
let's just go
give
with
an inch,
that.
they'll take a mile.
Yeah, that one. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that same.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, it does show that they're listening, right? But what about you, Steve? Like, where you stand with the Votan stuff?
Well, so I have played against Votan a couple of times. Both in like I played JT and I played a stream for our like YouTube members and Patreon members and stuff like that where we played Votan and I did beat him with Space Marines. Granted, it was like a 650 point game, and he was playing the like box that came out, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Asterix by the game, right? However, like I do have the book, and I've been reading it, and like honestly, like the data sheets themselves seem okay. Like maybe some things were undercosted, maybe they weren't. Like the judgment thing was definitely like the amount of
Bonkers.
damage. Yeah,
Yeah.
the problem is like what happens is you and they do this every so often. Something will come out that invalidates something's line of defense. So like in this example, this invalidates toughness. So if you pay for something, now I know Drakari don't really have this. Toughness is something that you have, Skari, that people have to use
Oh, is that a
to
thing?
wound against.
Oh, no way.
It's a thing, I know.
Really?
And some units in the game, it's hard to believe, have something called a high toughness.
Oh, no way.
Okay, I know. Almost
All news
like
to me.
8 or 9 in some instances.
Oh, 8 or 9. Whew.
I know.
Madness.
I'm aware. And so the problem is, sorry, it was just, I couldn't resist. So, like Space Marines, for example, have vehicles that have toughness 8.
What?
And I know it's
cheating.
Isn't that wild?
Just cheating.
They also have 3-up saves, if you believe it. And so
no, now you're gonna tell me
is,
they're gonna ignore my Ep1 or 2 and reduce the AP and stuff.
And actually, that's not in the book. They added that.
Oh, really?
So they did. And so the thing with that though is I feel like some units pay for that toughness. I won't use Space Marines as an example. Now I'll use like the new Demon book, the Great Unclean One, has a toughness of 9, a very tough model, and toughness 9 is like something that we haven't seen a lot in the game. And I feel like wrapped within the Great Unclean One's defensive structures, like in his point values and all of that, is that toughness. And the whole Votan army just goes, oh, we don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that does make sense. Like the thing that I noticed, like when I was doing the review of the book, the thing I noticed was that the thing that then the FAQ really like addressed was a 6. Their auto hitting doesn't count as a 6 to wound, whereas before it did, and they just changed that because there were a lot of rule mechanics that procced on a 6 to wound, but then instead of needing like to roll a 6 to wound, you need to roll a 4 to hit, and then it was a 6 to wound, and there were a lot of ways to do like mortal wounds and extra damage, and doing like going through and having spillover damage and all this crazy amount of stuff. So the mechanics themselves kind of stacked so heavily that I could see it overwhelming an opponent, right? Being like, oh, I just need 4s. Like, literally, it's a 50-50 that I get all the rules that I want, and it's relatively easy to put these judgment tokens on you. So, when I was doing the review, I said an easy way to fix this would be to just make it not count as a 6 to wound if you auto wound, which they literally, that was the FAQ. It was like, it's not a 6 to wound, right? You just auto wound. So if you want to try get those cool rules, they're either going to have to put a thing saying you can roll the wound roll, and if it's a 6, then it happens, or they'll it just already wounded, and you just don't get the ability to use those 6s to wound things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which time will tell how it works. As for the points, it's pretty standard. Like when you look at the Harlequin competitive list, went from 2,000 to like 2,500 points. The Tyranid competitive list went from 2,000 to like 2,500 points. And the list that most Votann players were playing, Triple Fortress, Berserkers, all that stuff, went from 2,000 to like 2,400 points. So the point increase is on average with those lists that came out that
Mhm.
apparently they were tested against, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that I find, so I honestly don't really have an opinion, really, because I'm not playing 40K competitively. I'm really just playing it narratively with friends, and very sporadically. And I think the outrage that we've seen, it comes down to two things. One is I think that the community is exhausted personally, because I've seen people be like, well, you should expect this from GW. This is what it's always like. And it's like, yeah, but after 3 years of this, I think people are just exhausted of trying to stay on top of everything and like either trying to make their army work against these super powerful things. That's the boat that I'm in, so I just stopped sort of playing guard. Or they're like just exhausted of army hopping. You
Yeah.
know, they're exhausted of getting the new thing in order to be able to compete. But the other thing is, I think that it kind of showed that GW didn't learn from the past, right? Especially with the auto wounding thing, because like that was why Mechanicum was so dominant for so long, right? Was the auto wounding. I mean, among other things, but that was like one major thing. And they rolled it back. And it's like they did that, but they did it like worse, and it was easier to get that effect to go off. Like you basically just had to play the game in order to get that effect to go off. So I think like that for me are like the two major reasons why there was so much rage. I'm not condoning the rage, because like it does yuck other people's yum. Like there are some people who just really were excited about Votann, and then all of the rage kind of like spoiled that for them.
Yeah.
But I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time as well, talk about mechanics. It's like the fight and death mechanic, where they gave it to Harlequins. It was way too powerful. They took it away from Harlequins, but then Bile has it, you know, or like Berserkers have it. And you're like, you could like preemptively tackle that stuff too if you have like if it's gonna be an issue or whatever, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
let's go back to chat. From a logistics perspective, says Ben. I think that is the hardest part. They want to simultaneously release models, a set, a book, everything along with it. It does make it hard. They are a giant company, right? They have grown exponentially, and especially during the pandemic, right? Like it's just been crazy how much they've done. And it is surprising that they keep it well oiled as well as they can, like in terms of what they do. And recently, they've branched out into a hell of a lot more than tabletop games, right?
Oh yeah.
They've been doing merchandising. They've been like on mobile games, and like there's literally ads for like little Warhammer based mobile games everywhere now for like just random. So they're making the 40K universe or the Warhammer universe become a part of like pop culture in a way, to a point where we've never seen this before. And that's going to impact how many people play the game, how they develop rules, all that stuff. So I think we're in that like in a place where it could just like explode, and all of a sudden we'll have like a movie on the big screen being like Space Marines take on a Space Hulk or some shit, you know. And I think that'd be like really cool. But you know, yeah.
Yeah. I also do agree that some of this is logistics too. Like something that I was discussing with a friend of mine, when he was like because he also, bought the box, and he's like, how, like, all the models are out. Like, how did all the models go up in points? Like, I've never even played the Turtle Van before, like, right, or the Land Fortress or whatever you want to call it. And like, I think some of this is logistics, like because of also too, like, the shipping problems, supply chain issues, and like setbacks in all these places to orchestrate, a multinational release at the same time with models, book, like all this content. A lot of stars have to align, and to get those stars to align, things need to be done way ahead of time. So like, they probably had a copy of this book like 9 to 12 months ahead of us having a copy of this book. And I would I don't know, because I'm not a playtester. I don't know. But let's say they even had it because of supply chain issues, 18 months ago is when they actually had a version of this that was going to be coming out now. I would imagine they didn't send it to playtesters to get playtested and then send it to get printed. Like, I have a feeling that they wrote the book, playtested it internally for a very short period of time, and said, okay, well, our factory in China says, 14 months. So send that book right now. And then in 7 months, we'll send it to the playtesters. Playtesters will give us feedback. And then our first FAQ update will be whatever the playtesters say. And I don't know this at all because, I'm not a GW employee, nor am I a playtester. But it just feels like if I were sitting at that desk, like, I wouldn't want brand new rules out with playtesters for 16 months.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I would just be like, I just don't want that. So we're going to print it, because they also had, like, those point values were locked and loaded, right? Like,
Yeah.
they didn't go, oh, crap, everything's too expensive somehow. Let's just make this up this weekend, guys. Like, they had those locked and loaded.
Yeah.
Which means that they received feedback at some point in time, right? And we're like, all right, well, this will be when the FAQ comes out, when whatever comes out, this will be what it actually is, right?
Yeah.
And they want to maybe avoid, like, looking like there was a Space Wolf release, not this last one, but maybe the one before, where like there was literally a FAQ on day one.
I think it was
That-
before the book even got released.
Yeah, it was like, these are your actual warlord traits. or
Because we
something
forgot
like
to
that.
print them in your book.
Yeah, but they actually were printed in the book.
They were just completely different.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, they were completely different for some reason.
Yeah.
And the new ones were not as good.
No.
Yeah, not that the old ones were broken. It was just like, I don't know why, but it was weird, right? I think they maybe wanted to avoid that weirdness. So like, instead, we'll have these locked and loaded. People will outrage because it clearly is too good. And then we'll pivot by posting all of this, and we'll look like good guys. Like, could be it, right?
Yeah.
But really,
I think we just need digital. That's it. Like, I think if they're going to insist on this kind of release, sort of like piecemeal, like we're developing 3 books at a time, it all has to be digital.
Especially
in my
in this,
opinion.
especially in this day and age. The fact that it
Yeah.
not digital is like just shows you how old the company really is, or like, you know
Right?
what I mean? Like, now back
Like,
in
digital
my
is
day-
100% profit.
Right, exactly.
100%.
Mhm.
You know, as
Um,
somebody who works for a company where we deliver both physical and digital product,
Yeah.
I would much rather sell you a digital product any freaking day of the week, because I don't have any real overhead cost in it besides,
Storage
website
space
hosting.
or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
back to chat. Hello, Emil. How's it going? Greenblood Crusade. Thanks for saying hello. Juza Alaunda, the Iron Mega. Hello, Daniel Samaniego. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to say hello and chat with us today. Leave a comment. Let us know, what do you think about the Votan thing? I know I just opened a can of worms, but let us know down below. Be nice
Be
to
nice.
each other. Yeah,
Be nice.
Don't roll dice, but type. Ha, get it? And then roll dice later, but be nice, because that's the show that Tanya does sometimes, right, Tanya?
Yeah, Steve, when are you going to come on my show? You got to come on all of them. This is one of 3.
Yeah. We can't talk about why, but there's a reason. I gotta go on all of them.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at that says Northern Nights Gaming says it's also easier than even to find the most meta list and just copy it. Playtesters are getting pushed to be more meta focused, which helps with the exhaustion Tanya is talking about. Yeah, fair enough. I think one of the biggest things I would like to see would be the digital thing, especially. But like when they did, if they do release printed copies, which is fine. Some people enjoy a book, and not everybody has like an iPad or whatever. It would be cool if they released like sticker sets. When they did an FAQ, so you could like literally peel off a sticker, put a sticker on like that fits where your codex is or whatever, so you don't have to like flip through a million PDFs. Like you could do that too. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah.
or you could print it on a sticker sheet, be like printable on a sticker sheet in the format of your codex, so that you could like print it and like peel it off and put it on a sticker. And anyway, I've been saying that for years. Games Workshop, that's proprietary information. I mean, proprietary idea. So you can pay me royalties for that thing.
Trademark Skari stickers.
Exactly.
Skari stickers.
So do you have So you said you're playing Crimson Fists competitively. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but I've been
The laugh.
I've been reading like Stats Check, okay? And Crimson Fists are not exactly at the top of the meta when it comes
No, they're
to
in fact at the bottom.
Right. So, are you just like flexing on us? Like what's going on here?
Part of this is spite. The
Well, that is
no,
very
honestly-
Crimson Fist of you, by the way, because they're very
I know,
bitter.
part of this
They're
is
very,
just
very
spite.
bitter.
Very bitter. No, you know what? Actually, honestly, it is. So I have this problem, Skari. And this is a very real admission of this problem. I have a problem. And my problem is when someone tells me that something's bad or that something is not good, especially when it comes to Space Marines, I go, well, fine then.
I'll
And
show
I'll
you.
I'll
show
show you what's up.
That's the
And then I
whole
do
story of
everything
me
in my-
starting Drukari in the first place. Yep.
Yeah. And then I do everything in my power to take that square and just jam it into that circular hole, right?
Nice.
Just everything, just both hands pushing in. And
Just
so
put some butter on it first.
whatever I need to do to get it in there. And so it's actually but with that being said, so currently I've played 3 tournaments with these Crimson Fists. So, and tournaments, I mean like I've gone to RTTs with them. And I can say honestly very proudly that right now I am 4 wins, 1 tie, and 4 losses.
Nice.
So of the 9 games, that's actually not horrible.
50-50. That's pretty good.
Pretty solid, right? Is that 50-50? When they actually have something like a 19% or a 20% win rate or something like that.
Oh.
Like, bad. There's like a chart that has all the like faction symbols or whatever, and the Crimson Fist one is underneath the Imperial Fist one, and it's so far down the chart that it's not all the way on the chart. Cut off by the edge of the picture. And but at the same time, my list is like I also am like very anti like any kind of spamming, like so everything on my list is also a singleton at the same time. And so the way that I play the game, I don't enjoy lists that run 3 of something or 3 of this or 3 of that or
Yeah.
And I've tried to play that way, but I just for some reason can't. And then on top of that too is
It's what
a
we
lot
call
of my
Highlander.
models, yeah, I think Highlander style. But I also the way that I play is very toolbox-ish.
Yeah.
So I go like, there's no one kind of crux to the list that is like it has to win with this.
Yeah.
There's no one combo in the list that says it has to do this thing to be successful. There's, it also makes target priority for my opponents kind of difficult because when they look at I literally have been asked this question, like, what does your list do? What is this?
Exactly.
Like,
You're like Excellent.
Excellent. Exactly. And I usually go exactly. It's that because honestly, like I don't need any one part of the list to win,
Yeah.
but I also could win with any part of the list. And it doesn't do anything spectacular, honestly. Like the whole game plan is I'm going to choose 2 objectives. I'm going to hold those 2 objectives, and I'm going to do actions on those 2 objectives, and I'm going to shoot you off of your objectives. Right? And then
Sounds
that'll
like
be
a
that.
very Space Marine thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. And some missions it succeeds. Like I struggle with the hold 2, hold 3, hold more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do. Like Space Marines have always sort of struggled with that. But actually, like I must say, like there are parts of the list that surprise people, right? For example, I use a something I love using is a Gladiator Reaper. I use in the list,
Nice.
and the Gladiator Reaper actually has an amazing set of skills in Crimson Fist because if I shoot it at something that has 10 or more models, I get +1 to hit because I'm outnumbered. Because my chapter tactic, no matter the odds, gives me +1 to hit whenever I'm outnumbered by 5 or more.
Nice.
So when I take that Gladiator and I shoot it at a 10-man squad of, like, let's say, like, Bloodletters or something. There's a 10-man squad of Bloodletters sitting on an objective. It's 24, heavy onslaught Gatling cannon shots, 16 Tempest bolter shots, and D3 rocket shots. And it all hits on 2s now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's situationally awesome. But I just, I will say that this is one of those times where I can say with confidence that you might not crush tournaments. I mean, there might come a day where I get lucky and I crush tournaments, but you can play well. Like I've learned to play the list that I'm playing really well, and I've made some very, I would say like economic and smart choices in what wheels in and what wheels out as I like try and find the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those times where good old fashioned, like get your reps in, practice, understand how the game is won and played. And it may not be top tier, but you can do okay if you dedicate the time to learn how to do it, right?
You are a man to my own heart and soul, because live by what you preach, bro. I love it. Okay, that's fantastic. Well, that's awesome, because, Crimson Fist being a son of Dorn, of course, because, Black Templars and all that were, like, long-related cousins or long-lost cousins or whatever. I remember back in the day, one of my good friends, Primaris Powerhouse Rob, we call him, is because he played Primaris Marines before they were cool. So just when they had just released it in the new Space Marine book, that Primaris Marines, and nobody really used Primaris Marines, and they didn't really have any like mechanics that like worked with them yet, or strats or anything like that. Yeah. They were just very bland. And he totally ran Crimson Fists, and he ran 50 Primaris Marines. Like he ran blobs of just intercessors with Pedro Cantor in the middle of them, giving them +1 attack and reroll hit rolls. This is before they picked a unit. It was like everybody got rerolls. And a big unit of Hell Blasters with a banner, so they could like. This is back when you could kill yourself with your own banner and then shoot because you died. Again. Yep. So double shooting and stuff like that. And he would surprise a lot of people with that list, because those power fists, especially when the sergeants started getting power fists as an option, and you could run them in with Pedro Cantor, and they each have like 4 attacks with a power fist and stuff. It got pretty beefy. And so I like the toolkit aspect of it, because you can like really surprise people if you understand what you're trying to achieve on the table.
Absolutely. And then just, I found too, like target priority is everything, right? Like understanding, okay, my army can't kill, 5 things this turn, but I'm pretty sure if I try hard enough, I could kill 2 things. But what are those 2, like, what are the 2 most important things? Yeah. What need to die right now to affect the game the most? And I think that last part of that sentence matters a lot. Like, what needs to be removed from the board right now to, like, in highlight, affect the game the most? Mm-hmm. Because, there's been many times where I go, all right, well, this thing is out in the open and it's probably going to kill a unit next turn. However, if I kill that, 10-man unit sitting on that objective near the back, he doesn't have a whole lot to help hold that objective later, and he's going to scramble. Time to, destroy that unit with everything I have, so that in my, next turn, my opponent now has to scramble, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, I lost his objective. Like making your opponent make those difficult choices opens up for them to make more mistakes, and throwing them off their game in that way is a way to effectively win the game. And it's quite something. And then there's lots of tools out there. Some of them they're not always the best, but whatever you choose to use, like I think if you learn how and when to use it, just like you said, Skari, like you learn to use it well enough, and eventually it will come out in the end. It doesn't have to be mathematically incredible. It just has to be
And eventually,
well practiced.
your codex will be Votan, like every other codex.
Oh
I don't want that.
It's
I don't want
cyclical,
that.
though, isn't it? No, isn't that what we all want
It
for
is,
your
but
army to be
No,
so good
no.
you like puke when you play with it because you
I
feel
hated
so
what
bad?
they did to Space Marines. I hated
No.
it.
I'm not playing.
actually
I'm not playing
prefer-
my Custodes because people steal your wins from you. You could bring the shittiest Custody list that you possibly could make, and people will still be like at the height of their dominance. They'd be like, "You just won because you took a meta list." Meanwhile,
Do you find that with Nighthaunt, for example, like AOS? Is that a 40k
No.
thing?
I think that the meta is healthier in Age of Sigmar
I
personally, and I feel like with a couple of outliers, like most factions can go into most factions no problem. And with the new books that are coming out, they are pretty internally balanced, so you're seeing like varieties of lists. There's more incentive to kind of find your own way to play. So yeah, no. Maybe if you played like Seraphon or something, people might be like, "Oh, you playing Seraphon," but I haven't really heard it for any other factions.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't want that. I don't want Guard to be super powered because then I won't play them.
Yeah,
People come to the table and they've already lost. Even though you've made a purposefully less tuned list, and it's not fun for me. And I don't know when I'm ever going to play my Custodes again.
Yeah, because of that. Makes
Yeah.
sense. No, I totally understand. Like that's one of the reasons why I didn't play Drukhari when they were busted AF, because it just wasn't challenging, wasn't really engaging, right? Because it just like I felt like I was just pushing crayons up my nose and doing absolutely nothing to win
Yeah.
games, and it wasn't really like what I would like out of a board game, which is like to think, to like strategize, to try and like problem solve, that sort of thing, which I find way more important than just winning, right? So
Yeah.
well, as
100%.
we come, oh sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, continue.
Well, I was gonna say we're coming towards the end of the show. It is 6 minutes before we finish up. So before we finish up, Steve, I just want to say I want to ask you a couple of questions. Number one,
Okay, here we go.
if you were to give some advice to a person who's brand new to playing the game and is having anxiety about painting miniatures or getting their army ready, is there any like one tip that you would give them that helped you or that helps other people?
Yeah, just put paint on it.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
That's what I say. I like it. Okay, that's good. Number two.
But that's true though. Like when I first started, I was really intimidated because what I really wanted was for my models to look good.
Yeah.
And I was very intimidated by this. What do I don't know what I have to do. And the problem with that, I don't know what I have to do, or like you can go down this rabbit hole on the internet of people giving you advice, telling you what tool you have to have, what paint range you have to have. But honestly, like the tools you have, the paint range that you have, it doesn't matter really. What matters is like, are you going to dedicate the time to just, to steal the name of the show, like to just put paint on the model, right? And I would say like if there's any one phrase, it would be the same that I say to my students. I teach performing arts, and like, when they say like, what do I do? Like, I'm nervous. If this is one of those moments where you just kind of have to be brave, right? And I know it's going to be hard knowing that you're probably going to make mistakes, but you've got to be comfortable making mistakes, because it's in those mistakes that all the best learning takes place, right?
Yeah, and that's
Correct.
well said. Now, do you have a favorite paint color or paint that you just, or like a wash, or just something that you tend to just find yourself trying to use in like a lot of your projects, regardless of what army you're playing?
Absolutely. So there are some products that I lean on like really, really heavily. I would probably say that the Army Painter washes
Oh, I love
are
them
some
so
of
much.
I know the Army Painter washes, and you know what? The Army Painter gets a lot of flack online, I find. They're like one of my most favorite paint ranges, and I think this is one of those times where you take the time to learn how to use the tools you have, in the same way that you practice playing games with models. Like, there's a lot of good things that come out of the Army Painter range, and their washes are, like, I would say, one of the best washes that I've used ever. So, and they don't even take a lot of practice to use, though, right? So, the Army Painter washes are my favorite. Dark Tone in particular is quite awesome.
Yep.
But all the washes are really strong.
I
So I
love
love them
Dark
all.
Tone. It's a good wash. I love being able to. The thing I like about those washes, you can literally slather them on a model, and then they dry so well. Like,
Yeah.
they don't really, like, you use like a GW wash, I tend to find that it pools sometimes, and it like
Yeah.
leaves like little blobby areas. But I do
Yep.
like what painter, like army painter washes do. They just flow so well. Okay, and last but not least, do you have a miniature that you're mainly super proud of that you've worked on? That, if you could use in every game, you would, that you look at it and go, yeah, this is like, I'm very proud of this miniature.
Hmm. I think I in my Crimson Fist army there is this dreadnought that I use. I mean, it's not phenomenal, but
I said
what
that
I like
you're
about
proud of. I don't care if it's like phenomenal or not. I'm just like, are you proud of him? Do you like him? Essentially.
I something that I've been trying really, really hard to do is get my highlighting up. Something that Tack from Play on Tabletop tells me all the time is, if he's
High fidelity, baby.
high fidelity, high fidelity. Like, it's almost like he just texts it to me on a daily basis, just more fidelity. Um, he's right. Like, when the cameras are on, contrast and fidelity matters a lot. And when I 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, I guess now, when we started Play on Tabletop, if you go back and watch some of my my first videos when I was just first starting out on that channel, models were okay at best. But when you go and you watch the shows from this year, when I had like my Blood Angels, when I had Crimson Fists, or whatever else I've played on the channel, my painting has gotten progressively better, and that's out of practice. And so the most recent thing that I've painted to completion would be this Crimson Fist Dreadnought, and I would say that I got all of the dry brush highlights on the edges. It's really clean and smooth. The decals went on smooth. There was no tearing. Like, when you look at the model, it's done.
Nice.
And I've never, like, that's something that I, have never really been able to say before, is, hey, that is 100% done. I don't necessarily have to go back, right? And it's a really nice feeling to look at some of your models and actually be really proud of them. So it took a few years to get to this point, but yeah. So that
That
Return to
sounds
Dread, it's all about.
that sounds fantastic. Well, Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on our season opener for Just Put Paint on It. Thanks for coming on. You're
I
welcome
believe
on
it.
anytime. This has been
Thank you.
fantastic. Tanya, why don't you tell everybody at home where they can find you? And of course, all the links to relevant stuff will be down in the comments or the description.
Well, you can find me on my own YouTube channel. I'm currently just doing like short kind of introductory videos for brand new players, but I'm going to be bringing back Be Nice Roll Dice at some point. Steve's going to come on and be my guest. And
He's an opener.
you could be the season opener for sure. You can find me on Instagram. I sporadically post there as well. I would say every time I finish a model, but that would be incorrect. Occasionally, when I finish models, I will post them there. And you can find me on Forge the Narrative podcast. New episodes every Saturday.
That sounds
Awesome.
amazing. Thank you, Tanya, once again, my wonderful co-host, for coming on and putting up with my antics and my crazy brain, which is awesome. I really appreciate
The crazy
it.
brain.
The crazy brain. A huge shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for watching. We do these shows every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you check out the playlist, like, share, subscribe if you want to miss a show, as well as a variety of more things. Want to support the show? You can be a YouTube member or check me out on Patreon with the link down below. Other than that, you have all been amazing. I've been Skari, this has been Tanya, this has been Steve. Signing off until next time. The painting kin. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Don't forget to just put paint on it.